All right, it is 4 o'clock on Thursday. It's time for the Real Estate Happy Hour show.
Yeah, we're just letting you guys fill in your own song for the day.
The intro music is phenomenal.
Yeah. So we just skipped that part.
He looked down and he was like, uh-oh.
But hey, we're closer to on time. Listen, we got a lot of good stuff today. We've got some staging, owning versus rent.
Yeah. Well, and deciding if you're the buyer or future renter.
And we're going to talk about recasting a loan, which has been a big, kind of a big topic lately.
You know, it's funny. It came up all of a sudden in droves. I mean, I've noticed numerous people ask.
A lot of people, and then comparing some different bank accounts. But let me tell you something that I learned on Tuesday about myself. I learned that I am not a big fan of CMO and blood.
Huh? What happened?
Okay, so I was at the house and was just breaking down some boxes. Had a box cutter, and so
it always starts good with a box cutter.
Pulling towards me, caught the thumb. Okay, and I caught it good. And this section is sponsored by the Favorite Group, by the way.
That's right. What's up, DJ?
Lana Kugel. So I caught it good. I knew blood was gushing. I got to the bathroom.
So this is just your thumb, but
oh yeah,
you hit the right spot.
I knew I got it good too. So get in there, get it wrapped up. You go upstairs, tell Courtney, you might need to take me to the hospital to get stitches. She's like, no.
I'm glad to know she was concerned.
You'll be fine. So she puts a pad of gauze, and look, y'all can sit down for this one. A pad of gauze and painter's tape.
Hey, she's going old school.
Okay? We're going painter's tape.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't have a roll of duct tape around.
Courtney was worried about having to pay that part you have to pay, copay.
Yeah. So we wrapped that up. Fine. Get enough pressure on it.
Yep.
It's throbbing.
And you think it's about to fall off.
Bleeding stops. So whatever. Now, later on that night, right before bed, I'm like, we probably should change this.
Call me crazy.
Just change it out. So I pull it off. I look at it, and we change it. And I guess that didn't make me feel so good. So I started getting a little woozy. I put my hands down on the kitchen counter, and then I just went out. I fell.
So hold on. You flat out hit the table.
I fell straight down, hit the counter right between the eyes on the way down. Granite countertop right there.
You haven't done that since college.
Yeah. All the way down, out.
You mean completely? Do you remember anything?
Oh yeah, I remember most of it.
You remember the granite coming at you?
Oh yeah, I remember most of it. And then I got up and we went down again. She was trying to help me. I fell down again. Finally made it to bed, but man.
Wait, hold on. You finally made it to bed. You had been to bed.
Yeah, that was knocked out.
So how's the thumb?
Oh, it's good.
Oh, hold on. You went from a stack of gauze to that?
Yeah, because I didn't go to the hospital until the morning. Or I went by the little doc in the box or something because I had to get the tetanus shot.
Hey, odds
tetanus will kill you.
Let's be honest. Odds that Courtney was worried about the copay at an emergency room.
I think she just didn't want to go.
Oh, well, that's even. I don't know which is worse, right? No, hey, y'all.
Hey, the copay was hefty. I'll tell you something.
That is funny. What's up, Darren James? Hey, good to hear from you or see you.
Yes, sir. Darren James doing things down there.
Down in Denham Springs, Louisiana.
So anyway, wanted to share that. That's good fun.
Hey, I tell you what, David. You and I were talking about sometimes when the market gets as heated as it is, folks lose their marbles about how to treat each other in transactions. You know what I mean? Like, they're so determined. I had a deal this week go right up until the day of closing. A home seller literally we've had the house on the market. They agreed to do some repairs to the house, a deck. In this case, it was a deck to be rebuilt. And, well, because of the rain and everything else, the contractor got a little behind. And because of VA appraisal, we had to have it finished. Well, the buyer just decides at the last minute because we can't close right on the exact day they wanted to. Now, whether they can or they can't, it's a different story. They just said, we're backing out of this contract. I mean, everything has gone through, right?
I'm telling you, that's not the time to do it. Right now is as busy as I've seen it in a long time, and that means that appraisers are busy, contractors are busy. I mean, underwriters are busy.
And if you start at my point to their agent, who is a fantastic agent here in town, was, do you want it done right? I mean, we could have met the deadline and done it incorrectly, right? And all I'm talking about is in the busy time, just, be flexible. I mean, listen up. We know it's stressful.
I think overall, I mean, everybody's got to understand that everybody in the business is busy. Closing attorneys, closers, people working on CDs, people working on all of these different steps in the process. Everybody's busy. Everybody's trying to get it done. And so that might require a little patience.
Yeah.
On your
Inconvenience.
end. Yeah, a little patience to let everybody get everything done. We've been getting loans done on time.
Mm-hmm. You have.
But there has certainly been, there's been plenty of understanding people, and there's been plenty of wonderful transactions.
Oh, most of them are.
So, but I'm just saying,
now y'all seeing
going into it right now, you should need to be patient.
How much in this year are you seeing, folks that were getting right up to closing and and you find out at that last credit bulk, they've opened a rooms to go credit line?
Oh, it happens sometimes. Not a ton, but it does happen from time to time where somebody has done something on their credit that we catch in the last week of the deal.
It's so crazy, though, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys, I know, do a great job of telling them, hey, no open credit lines. Don't do anything like that. But, interesting. National Association of Realtors came out with a survey, an annual profile of home staging. And come to find out, after they surveyed not only listing agents, but also buyer's agents, that up to 10% increase in sales price just by having the home staged to sell.
Up to 10% increase, yeah. I'm telling you, it's a big deal. People, everybody wants a deal, but everybody knows it's competitive. And I guess people just assume if they walk in and things don't look nice, the house doesn't look well kept, they're already discounting in their mind what they're going to offer.
Yeah, that's right.
And if they walk in and see the house looks good, they're already thinking, man, somebody's going to get this before me.
Well, it's funny. I was laughing yesterday with a home seller, and we were talking about his $12,000 Oriental rug that's not staying with the house. And, I said, well, we may want to take that up so we can show off your hardwood floors. But that's $12,000 rug. I said, but they're not buying that rug.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool, I guess, if you're into it, right? But, the other thing they talked about was that 2% of a listing agent said that staging decreased the amount of time a home spent on the market.
Yeah, I mean, that's easy. This stuff seems obvious, but, a lot of people still miss it. I mean, if you really want to make that look as good as possible and as attractive to a buyer as possible, man, you got to put some work into it.
And I think the staged homes, when they're making that decision, I'm not sure I really want to go out and take a look at these houses. I think what gives them over that edge to really say, you know what, I better go see this one before it leaves the market, I think it's having it staged and feeling like a home and visualizing themselves in that home.
Yeah, certainly a staged house. You could probably have more pictures online, which gives you, more people clicking through and looking at the different rooms and just getting more familiar with the house before they commit to even coming to see it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Interest rates.
On the tail end of that, interest rates have not changed this week, ironically. 3.82 on a 30, 3.26 on a 15. They're still down, way down. And look, I read an article last week from a guy that he's been in this business for a long time, and he's kind of been the authority on interest rates. I mean, he just specializes in it.
Middle name's interest.
He's done really well predicting the markets. He's saying that we're going to see rates lower over the next 24 months than we've ever seen. Like ever.
Ever?
Ever. So that's a great thing to know right now. Keep that in mind for these purchase transactions, how you're setting those up. And, there's going to be some refinance opportunities coming.
Client asked me the other day, because what's funny is you can be in this business a long time, and I just didn't realize until you talked to me about it was that the 20 years an option, right? Because a lot of folks can't handle the 15 financially, but they handle the 20. What's the rate difference? Because we know there's about a half a point difference between the 15 and the 30. What is that difference with the 20?
Oh, with the 20, there's it just depends on the situation. So the 20 is probably going to be a little. So if my average is 3.82 on a 30, my 20 is probably just going to be a little bit less than that on a 3.6, 3.7, somewhere in there.
So your benefit though is you're paying down more principal.
Yeah, but you're cutting down years going to a 20-year. So it's not as much interest rate on that deal. It's more of like how much are we cutting off because a lot of times you can have the same monthly payment because you're refinancing from a 30 down to a 20. Okay, so you just cut off, let's say, 6-7 years, but your payment didn't change.
Yeah.
All right, so who cares what the rate is, right?
Right.
So there's a lot of situations to look at on refinance. Now, I know a lot of companies, they look for clients that have a lot of credit card debt. Okay?
Try to refinance that into it.
Now, rolling your credit card debt into that, of course, it can make sense because your monthly payments on that credit card could be high, your interest could be high, but man, you just can't cash out into your house and then go run the credit cards back up. You got to change the way you're doing things. So there's a lot of refinance opportunities.
That's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of refinance opportunities. You could roll car loans, you could roll interest, credit card interest. I mean, all of these other debts are higher interest than what you're going to get on a mortgage.
Right.
Okay, so
Of course.
a lot of opportunities there. A lot of opportunities going to be coming in the next 24 months. Some of the stock talk is that we'll talk about the stock market later. Surprisingly, it's still up over 26,000, but also they are alluding to an inverted yield curve,
Right.
which means a recession could be coming,
Right.
and stocks will be on sale during a recession. So take that for.
And should be good for the mortgage market. I mean, which is exactly what he's talking about, the inverted yield curve.
Certainly. Now, with all this happening, the Fed has already come out hinting towards cutting their rates. So we'll see what happens. But a lot of good stuff coming off.
Solidifying what you're saying.
Interest rates.
All right. Next up, we got 7 factors that matter. The folks over at HomeLight came up. They had a blog post that we found really interesting, and they talked about the 7 factors you got to consider when you're making that decision. Should I rent a home or should I buy a home? In other words, you're moving in. You can have any situation, really. And these are the factors to look at. First is analyze your monthly costs.
Yeah, monthly housing costs. I mean, a lot of times this is what it comes down to. The big thing on the owning, obviously, is the down payment and closing costs. Okay? So there's an upfront deal. But, when you're analyzing your monthly housing cost, is it going to cost you, $1,200 in rent, where you could maybe get a mortgage for $950 for the same house? That's what we're talking about analyzing.
And
the
$950 though, he's talking about the mortgage being lower than the rent, but if you have to pay an HOA fee, a fire dues fee, lawn maintenance whatever.
You got maintenance on the house that a landlord at this example, the $1,200, the landlord might be covering some of that stuff, right?
Absolutely. So really, that's an obvious one. But next one is estimate how long you intend to stay put in the home.
Yeah, this is always important because that gives you a timeline or a horizon of when you're going to be there. If you have these extra costs with buying a house, how long is it going to take you to break even on that? If you're only going to be there for 2 years, does it make sense to spend thousands of dollars more?
Probably not, because you're going to have to recoup before you start going to the positive, right?
Yeah.
And talk about equity takes time to build, right, with these mortgages, because most folks are on a 30-year mortgage.
Yes, certainly. You've got to think about that because the way a mortgage is set up, your first payments are going mainly towards interest, not to principal. Okay, so that's a big deal. And then when you go to sell the house, you're going to pay real estate commissions. So if you're looking at a less than 2 or 3 year window, though, you've got these extra costs on the own side.
Absolutely.
So you have to throw all of this in and figure it out.
Well, you
just don't leave these big items out.
Well, you and I have a joint client who's in the military that's coming to town. We had to have that discussion with them about, because really with these military folks, they're okay breaking even at the end of this whole deal by factoring all those costs in.
Yeah.
Having a slight increase in value and all that. But we had to find the right house that could give them that because they don't have the luxury of, let's wait another couple years.
Yeah, and I'm always a proponent of, if in this type of situation, renting the house out. Keep it in the house, rent it out, let somebody else make the mortgage payment. Let somebody like Collier manage the rental for you.
Management company.
And then somebody else will pay the mortgage off. So
absolutely,
always an option there.
All right, next one, assess your local real estate market conditions. Is it a seller's market or is it a buyer's market?
And I'll tell you right now, most real estate markets are going to be attractive. Most of them are. Well, we're still probably in a seller's market technically right now, right?
Correct.
Because of inventory. So the sellers kind of have a little bit more control. There's more buyers out there. But So I think right now, obviously, a lot of real estate markets are going to be attractive.
Well, they are, and I think we're seeing both hitting here. The problem you're having is low inventory, and when there's low inventory, there's just not a lot out there, and so folks got to make a decision by school, those type things. What are they gonna do? Because they want to be in that area. Because one thing for certain, let's say you wanted to be in the Vestavia Hills school system, which is a suburb here in Birmingham, they don't have many apartments, right? I mean, low cost housing.
Yeah,
Low rent housing. So you're having to make a decision really quick that may help you because of those market conditions. The next one is right up your alley. Research mortgage interest rate trends.
Well, we just talked about it. The current mortgage interest rate trend is down. They are down now. They are probably heading further down. So that's all you need to know about that. Obviously, a good time to buy and get those low rates, which transfer to lower payments on the own side.
That's right. Get some equity in that house. Evaluate your financial stability. Sometimes you need to keep building that your credit score and your credit record.
Yeah, and maybe saving for a down payment, or maybe saving to pay off debt and improve your credit score, like he's talking about. Instead of owning, maybe you want to rent and save for retirement. Golly, let's really make sure we got our priorities here, right?
You got to be able just to breathe and live in retirement.
Yeah, so that's what evaluate your financial stability. What's important to you? What do you need to do right now?
Well, absolutely. And next one is weigh the home maintenance responsibilities. You talked about it. You nailed it.
This is crazy. This one is crazy because, we've got a lot of loans, and every mortgage company is going to where we're verifying just enough for them to put a down payment, pay closing costs and everything. They're just barely getting into this house. So what happens in the first week? Now, I know we got home warranties, okay? So
but they're still insurance companies, and they may not pay.
Let's say something happens in the first week. You just closed, and obviously there's not a whole lot of cash left in your bank account. What are you going to do?
You'd be in trouble.
So this is a big one. Weigh the home maintenance responsibilities. Even in big neighborhoods, look, I've seen it. In nice neighborhoods, people get in and they can't afford the maintenance on a $400,000 or $500,000 house.
Well,
come on.
I just sold a massive 6-7 bedroom house, almost 8,000 square feet that has 4 air conditioning units. 4. And one of them goes out.
Yeah.
Because Murphy's Law is going to kick in. Guess what happens? Another one goes out. And so, do you have the money to withstand it? And we are seeing a lot of folks stretching because just don't keep up with the Johnsons, or whatever the saying is, right? We a lot of times in that price point, we do see that where people are just buying way too much house than they need.
Yeah, and you've got to be able to maintain the house. There are HOA rules for lawn maintenance and care and things like that. There's extra expenses, so you need extra money for that.
Just like a cruise ship, if we could live on a cruise ship, it would meet our long-term needs. You need to find a neighborhood that meets your long-term needs.
Yes. Yeah, and that depends on where you're at in life, kids, things
true.
like that. Obviously, is maybe a bad example, but you're not going to bring kids into an elderly neighborhood.
We've had that.
You want kids in a neighborhood with kids, right?
What makes your life easier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Near your family. The good thing with you is you got family in your neighborhood, which is nice because y'all can mingle.
Absolutely.
The kids can play. So.
Absolutely. So, bottom line is, when you're looking at rent versus buy, there's a lot of things to look at. There's a lot of extra costs and things associated on both sides, really.
Yeah, and you said it many times on the show before that, if you're trying to build wealth, a stealthy way, because you've talked about that it's not a direct way. It's kind of like forced savings.
Yeah.
Right, by owning. It's forced savings. It's your money that's coming back to you, but you were able to pocket that money and use that equity down the road when you need it.
Yeah, and you can't spend it right away. You can't take your front door off and go trade it in for cash. So
if it was copper, you could.
Well, so a couple things I want to bring up here. Moving on to our next segment is recasting. So a lot of people right now, with the way the market is in inventory, they've got a house to sell. Okay, they may have a good bit of equity position in that house, but they don't want to sell that house and then have to choose what's left on the market at that time. They'd rather go ahead and look now, find a house that they want, find what they want, buy it. Let's say they buy it for less, 5% down because they've got $100,000 in their current house.
Yep.
Okay. But they've got 5% in a bank account they can put down. So they're going to go ahead and buy that house. They'll have to qualify with both mortgage payments.
Okay.
And then they're going to buy that house, move in, and then sell the other one.
Okay.
And then have an extra $100,000 that then they want to turn around and put on their mortgage.
They're not trying to keep it.
Right.
They want to put it back into the house.
They want to put that right back into the house. So in that situation, you don't have to refinance the whole loan. If you refinance the whole loan, then you're going to pay closing costs again.
Okay.
Okay. What we do is we call it's a recast. A lot of people are not familiar with this. We've been doing it forever.
The recast.
Yeah, it's a recast. So you take, let's say a year goes by. It takes you a year to sell that house.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you got 29 years left on your mortgage. So we take the same rate, 29 years left.
Right.
And then your $100,000 payment's going to reduce that balance. We'll take the new balance and we'll recast and give you a new payment.
That's awesome.
So you're not paying that high payment still.
And a lot of folks ask me, how long has this been around?
Oh, it's always been there. It's becoming more and more popular. I've heard it more this past year than I have in 15 years.
Did the cost come down over the last?
No,
whatever?
I think it just. I don't think as many people were in the position to do it.
Oh, gotcha. Well, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because you've got to have a large equity position in the house that you're selling. So anyway, we see it happen a lot. There are a lot of differences between. So ask a lot of questions up front. I've got a couple loans that we're holding on at Fairway. We're gonna retain the servicing because we can do that because our process for recasting is pretty simple, and I can help out if you run into any snags. So there's a lot of differences between company servicers.
What's the cost on something like this?
Typically, it's about 150. It can be 150 to $300. That's it. One-time fee to recast the mortgage.
Is there any eligibility stuff that people need to be aware of?
Yeah, so a lot of time, it depends from servicer to servicer, but let's say if I've looked at 6 or 8, the difference is some of them are after the first payment. Ours is after the first payment. Anytime after you've made your first payment, you can recast. Yeah. Some of them are up to 6 months after transfer of the servicing.
Oh, because they've transferred it out. So
yes, let's say we close the loan, and then 2 months later, we sell it to somebody else for servicing.
Whoever.
So then they pick it up. Then you got to wait for 6 months after they pick it up.
And that makes sense when it's moving like that because they're trying to track it. It's not easy to track, I don't guess.
Right. So those are a couple things. Now, the minimum amount that you have to put into it, it can be anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. The minimum lump sum amount that you're paying to the principal balance, or 10% of the balance sometimes. So those rules are different from servicer to servicer.
It makes sense because your rule of thumb is what, about $50 per 10,000 borrowed, so it'd be about $50 less than a payment you're going to pay, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not a really large one, if you're only putting maybe $10,000, $15,000 down, it might make better sense just to keep paying the same payment and pay the loan off faster.
Yes, I got you.
Yeah. Sometimes these can take up 8 to 12 weeks. It does take a little while to do, but that's a good option for you in this situation. If you got a large amount to put down, a recast instead of refinancing the whole loan.
How long does it?
A whole lot better.
How long does this process take to recast? And when will I see the benefit?
Yeah, it'll take about 8 to 12 weeks once you start.
Does somebody need to keep paying their payment as thing, and then let the bank automatically change it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I can see that being an issue. Yeah. Somebody thinks, "Oh, David said it's done."
Yeah, and you can do the same thing with the PMI as well. You can have with a huge lump sum payment early on.
Just go ahead and pay it off.
Yeah, you can get that removed too. We go off the purchase price.
Is that really a good deal though? Because you may be able to finish it early at some point, right? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying
it would still go to the equity. You're not prepaying.
No.
Gotcha.
I'm saying once you pay down that balance, you're less than
that makes more sense.
78% of the purchase price, so then you can get that PMI removed as well.
Absolutely.
So keep that in mind. A recast is what that's called.
Well, of course, listening to one of my favorite guys, Clark Howard. And one thing Clark was talking about, we got to train ourselves to save more money. And one way that he and his staff have done this is because you've talked about, and I've talked about the ease of these online bank accounts and using them, right? And having 4 different accounts. I was about to say checking accounts, but you really only have 2 checking, 2 savings accounts, and really not keeping a lot of money. There's a couple reasons Clark is real big on not keeping a lot of money in your everyday checking. And one of the biggest ones is we have that number out there everywhere in all these places, from Venmo, PayPal, all these places. And if somebody gets access to that account, you do not want them.
Yeah.
And there seems to be more safeguards on these savings accounts because there's even a wall on you pulling money out too frequently. So they're going to know something's up. But what he says is to have a traditional checking account, say at your large monster mega bank, like Regions, Bank of America, what have you, the big guys. And then and using that just for your fixed expenses. This is stuff like utility bills, your car payment, your insurance, stuff that is happening every month.
No, this where that account's where you would use the debit card for Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A. Well, not really, because that would go to your online checking account that you would fund that would be more for
daily expenses.
Okay. Because we can control that one separately, because we know that our fixed expenses are going to be taken out of this one account, and then the online account a lot of times will earn you interest. I mean, we see some of these guys earning interest, so you'll use that online checking account. I think y'all use Ally Bank. Get Capital One 360 is another good one. And there's just a number of them. Schwab has a good one. But, he says to use it for things like the online account for groceries, fuel, clothing, personal care items. I hate that word.
Personal care.
Yeah, it seems like a very female thing. Entertainment, eating out, and haircuts.
Okay, so basic daily expenses out of the online checking account where you might be making some on the some money on the interest on the balance, right?
Yeah,
and then your traditional savings account is your rainy day fund.
It's a traditional savings account is your rainy day fund, which is a far less. Hey, Tara, your rainy day fund, keeping $1,000. It was a staggering statistic. I forgot. I saw it a few weeks ago again, and it's staggering how many people can't get past one emergency situation in this country.
Oh yeah,
they don't have that $1,000 to replace a set of tires in their car. Mm-hmm. And that's sad. We gotta fix that.
Or for a copay on a busted thumb at the hospital.
Absolutely. And if you have any problems, you go see Courtney Harvey. She'll fix it for free.
Yeah, with some painter's tape.
Yeah. All right. The next thing that he talks about using is using the online savings account
for the emergency fund. Now going back to the traditional, I do like this. So the traditional savings account is really a little bit to kind of help the traditional checking account. Maybe keep a little extra money there because it's easier to transfer back and forth between those two, right?
Absolutely. And so that's like using that Regions Bank or that Compass or your Bank of America, those type accounts. And, Tara Limbird from Northwest Arkansas says Dave Ramsey's Baby Step program, $1,000 emergency fund. Absolutely. I mean, listen, I have a little love lost for Dave Ramsey, but I love his process. His process is dead on, and that's one of the first baby steps.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, with Dave as well, he does talk about funds, right? And I think he used the envelope approach with big vacation, small vacation, thing like that. And you can have separate accounts for all this stuff where you separate money out. Because look, it's really hard if you keep all your money in one place. It's hard to look at it and say I'm making progress on these different.
You're looking at the forest, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at that forest. You're not seeing because y'all do the same thing we do, which is each vacation gets its own checking account or savings account, and really just earns the same amount of interest. It doesn't look as cool because it's not as much when you break it down to $500 getting amount of money.
Yeah,
but anyway, stocks and personal finance this week.
So I'm surprised that stock market's up over 26,000. We did mention the inverted yield curve. We mentioned that recession could be coming in the next 18, 24 months. Stocks will be on sale during this time. But 26,000, I think, on the Dow is a pretty significant level. I don't know what takes us. And now we've come out of the trade war talks a little bit. I think China's going to subside. Maybe they're supposed to meet at the end of the month. Mexico, we took that off the table, right? So that kind of had everybody. That kind of had the market shocked for a little bit. But now we're back up over 26,000, and seems like what could take us to 27.
Real earnings too. Again, this is what's so funny is that I almost feel like a lot of the media doesn't understand that some of these companies have real earnings, and their job as companies that trade on the publicly traded stock market is to share their profits back with their shareholders.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it just surprises me that the market is still doing as well as it is, but I don't know how much higher it can go. It's interesting. Last week we did bring up Beyond Meat was a plant-based burger.
It opened at about what? Its IPO at $40.
Yeah, 40 something, and it ran all the way up to 182. And what I thought was great about this was it was a short squeeze, which means that there was a large amount of people on the short side, and there was other people on the other side buying it up to run those shorts out.
So they were pushing them out to get them out of here.
Yeah, and it's interesting. The short squeeze is funny if you care to Google that. It's interesting.
I got a main squeeze, not a short squeeze.
How somebody would buy one side to run it up, because if you're short, you're betting on the stock to go down. Like if I'm short, I'm betting on the stock to go down. If you want to make me hurt in that position, you would buy it up.
Because I'm wanting to keep you out in the future,
you're driving the price up. And so I can't get out because the price is going up. So interesting.
And the other thing I think that is interesting in this economy is the lack of splitting of these stock prices. It's almost a cool thing if you're a company now to have a massive stock price, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you see it with Amazon at, I think they're at 1900.
That's crazy.
I haven't looked at that one in a while. I could be way off there. I'm sorry.
Where do we see, if somebody's sitting out there going, what do they do? Where do they put that money? Do you go to cash and just wait this out, or what are in the past have been good sectors of stocks?
What I think you would want to do with a recession looming. Okay, 1868 on Amazon. Did have to check that. So what I would do, is we've talked about this before. What percentage of your portfolio is cash? Does it make sense to sell now when stocks are going to be discounted in a recession? Possibly. Probably not, because you're going to pay at least 20% cap gains on that, right?
Right.
So are the stocks going to drop by 20% or more?
Say again?
Are the stocks going to drop by 20% or more?
No.
We don't know.
I don't think
They could drop 40% depending on what you're holding. But so it probably makes sense to just hang on to what you got. But whatever you're planning on saving for investments, let's say it's $1,000 a month, maybe less of that goes into investments right now and more of it stays in cash right now.
So would you pull that into money markets and stuff like that and just hold it and just beat inflation?
Yeah, you can put it anywhere to draw a little bit of interest, but overall you're just kind of hanging on to cash to when you can buy in when things are on sale. Right now would be a really good time to put together your list of favorites. What are your favorite stocks? What are your favorite companies? Because they're all going to be on sale. The lowering tide will sink all ships, right?
Yeah.
So everything's going to come down. Amazon's going to come down. Dollar General's going to come down. Royal Caribbean's going to come down. Yeah. All of those. So
we don't prefer the word sink in that situation,
right? But now would be a great time to put together your list of winners. So when they do come down, you can.
And the beautiful thing is, no matter what app you use to track, whether it be Yahoo, which is the only thing I like about Yahoo, is Yahoo Finance. You got CBS Market Watch. You got your platform of choice, TD Ameritrade. All those have areas of their websites that you can just watch and save and save the stock for the future. But anyway, we will be back next Thursday at 4:00. Anyway, don't forget about the podcast edition, anywhere you can find great
pod.
That's right, great pod here in Alabama. Anyway, that'll be Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Stitcher. All right, we will see you next week.
That's it.
All right, have a great week.